Oh man, okay. Well, here we go. Another one. This is I believe this is News Night with Abby Phillips. The conversation here is they're talking about trying to rein in Trump's power in Iran. How much is too much, etc., etc. So just gonna take a look at this quick clip, but take a look at
Sources
this
tell
also.
CNN that Democrats are
That's some
introducing a
commentary.
new war powers resolution to rein in President Trump's authority, arguing that Trump overstepped his power when he ordered the attack on Iran's nuclear facilities. Now, it all comes as top Democrats say the White House is intentionally keeping them in the dark.
I asked for a Gang of Eight briefing. It has yet to occur. And it's not clear to me what the administration is hiding from the Congress and from the American people.
And by the way, I mean, let's not lose sight of the fact that that an offensive attack against a foreign nation is something that the Constitution reserves to the Congress of the United States.
We had Congresswoman Nicole Malliotakis, a Republican, here last week, and she was saying they're not going to brief us until after this thing is all said and done. And there is something about that, Scott, that, maybe you don't go to a full vote in the Congress, but to wait until you've already taken the action to brief even the Gang of Eight. This is a smaller group of senior leadership in the Congress about what the intelligence says, I think is pretty extraordinary.
Well, they did call Schumer, and I know they talked to him, and they tried to call Jeffries, who apparently didn't pick up the phone. So I know some calls were made. Look, one of the ways to keep things from leaking is to not tell a bunch of people who leak.
That doesn't
And
make
so,
any sense.
I'm sensitive to this.
The Gang of Eight.
This is a pretty.
This is the problem I have. Is like we can't do things like this. This is dangerous. Because if this was a left wing, if this was a Democratic, this was Joe Biden, all hell would have broke loose if he was just to do things without, the Congress having a say. But how it is when it comes to people like Scott Jennings and other fucking Republicans, MAGA, left wing
Pretty sensitive
liberal
operation. There was a
haters.
lot of misdirection. There was a lot of stuff going on here.
Is a close hold.
I know, and they
It's
called
generally a close
and they
hold.
called Schumer, and they tried to call Jeffries, and they told the Republicans. And look, we're not going to debate this in an open committee hearing when we're on a tight time window. You got bombers going one way, bombers going another way. I mean, this thing had to be held airtight, and that's what they did, and it worked perfectly.
Except
so.
that Donald Trump tweeted his way or truthed his way through the whole thing. I mean, we do have to remember.
Are you
that
arguing it wasn't a success?
I literally did not say that. I'm just saying President Trump spent a lot of time talking through this publicly on social media to the point where they had to have a contingency plan to have B-2s going in opposite directions, just in case they needed to sort of misdirect the Iranians.
But we don't know whether it was a success or not. But you don't make a major judgment like that based on a one-day span. He's come out and said, I have a covenant with the American people. I tell them the truth. What do I say? We have completely and totally obliterated. No, you haven't. That's a lie, Brother Trump. Get off the crack pipe. You destroyed. You had severe damage. You didn't completely obliterate. Was there complete obliteration, you think?
How do
Is
you
there
know?
intelligence that you possess that says that?
Yes.
That's the point. Nobody has the intelligence. Nobody has any actual knowledge. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Donald Trump walked back the total obliteration comment. It did some damage.
You know what?
Total obliteration is
Because
crazy.
if, in fact, there was evidence for it, they would make it available, my brother. The fact that they not make it
Going back to
available
the
means
war
there's a
powers-
good chance that they don't.
The war power resolution, though, I would say, there is a reason for Congress to exist. Right now, our Congress has a bunch of peacocks who like to appear on television and not do their job, which is frustrating because then when you are trying to brief people and have serious conversations, they're trying to score a political point. And that sucks. It sucks for Democrats and for Republicans. If that changed, then 100% I think Congress should, because they will deal with the financial repercussions of Trump's decision with their budget. We all have to figure out what we want to pay for and if we're going to authorize just strikes all the time. It is a real question because this does cut our budget.
Yeah, but look, the reality is the war powers resolution is a hotly debated question, right? Congress has the power to declare war. The president's commander in chief. The Constitution has tension in it about who's authorized to do what when. So Congress is trying to resolve it by saying the president can deploy forces overseas into hostilities for up to 60 days simply by notifying Congress. He doesn't have to get their approval at all to do it. That's the War Powers Resolution. People always get confused and say, no, it requires the president to get congressional approval. That is not true. For up to 60 days, the president can go forward. And in fact, the Obama administration attacked Libya and said we can go past 60 days because it's not hostilities, because they're not firing back.
It's funny you should mention that. Here's what Republicans said about that very thing 14 years ago.
The Constitution is very clear. You don't go to war without a declaration.
This latest decision was taken without adequate consultation with Congress.
When you commit U.S. troops and resources to combat, you should consult with Congress.
Allowing this assertion to stand unchallenged would increase the risk that presidents will conduct similar military interventions in the future without seeking or receiving congressional authorization.
They've never gone to the Congress for any authorization, and that has led to some pretty inflamed, or shall I say, bruised egos around here, and understandably, because the president should consult with Congress.
So let's be honest. I mean, whenever it's like with a lot of things in Washington, when it's your team doing it, you're fine with it. When it's the other team doing it, you're not. And I think this is one of those cases as well.
I love that you showed John McCain there at the end, because he famously would say every senator looks in the mirror and sees a future president of the United States. I think he was wrong. I think every senator sees the current president of the United States. They believe they are commander in chief. And Lindsey Graham said it, I think, yesterday. There cannot be 530.
Wait, where the fuck did he get that from? Like, was he like, what relevance does that have in the conversation? We're talking about one individual not consulting with Congress. The president of the United States, not wannabes. The president of the United States decided not to consult with Congress. Why do they consistently deflect to some other bullshit ass fucking analogy that doesn't make any fucking sense, or some bullshit other example that has no fucking relevance in the situation?
5 commanders in chief. There is one. And when it comes to making decisions that are related to national security and protecting the interests of America, we can't wait for Congress to get their pesky hands in it and delay and delay and delay and delay. And then the window of opportunity would be completely gone. But I do want to say,
I think you're right. I just have to say that one.
What do you mean delay and delay? Like, they struck in the middle of the fucking night on a weekend. I mean, like, it's not as if they fucking announced, hey, we're going to do this. No, I mean, you hinted at doing it for a long time before you did it. Nobody, not even us, your constituents thought you were going to do it. Those facilities weren't going to go anywhere.
The thing about it, though, is that it's always fine to start something.
Yes.
But when it comes time to finish it, then you have to go to Congress, and Congress has no choice.
What would happen if the Iranians deployed a nuclear weapon and then they looked at the government and said, why didn't you do something about this?
I'm not advocating one way or another about this. I'm just saying that it's always easiest to say, oh, Mr. President, go do whatever you want to start this thing. But when Congress comes into play is usually when it comes time to finish it. And that's when things get really tricky. And that's when the American people starts to push back on these conflicts.
But here's the thing, Abby. The U.S. has been in conflict overseas and deployed troops into combat, into hostilities over 300 times since 1982. Congress has authorized use of military force 3 times.
I think that is exactly
that's the problem.
A lot of Americans don't like, right?
That's the fucking point, isn't it? The fucking point is, hey, stop doing this. Hey, let's go through Congress. That's the point. We're constantly allowing people to just fucking break the law, bypass the Constitution, bypass and do things the wrong way. We're sitting here having a fucking conversation about it as if Abby's wrong. Everybody wants to do the right thing, but it's like, for some reason, when it's Donald Trump, no, everything, his word is God. His word is gold. There's nothing that he can do that's fucking wrong. But if this was Joe Biden, Barack Obama, any other Democratic president, whatever, independent, what have you, the fucking house would be on fire right now. Impeachment would be the #1 priority coming out of the rights, out of these Republican senators. God forbid whatever fucking Marjorie Taylor Greene, however you say her name, is going to feel about that.
Yes.
It's hypocrisy on
It's
steroids
hypocrisy.
when the Republicans do it and you get to rationalize it. So the
Exactly.
Democrats do
Exactly.
it, rationalizing other Democrats. Who's going to speak the truth?
Well, and what do we get out of these conflicts?
gonna
I
speak
mean,
the
that's the
truth?
bigger question is like,
One
what's
thing
the
is that
end
Iran
result?
doesn't have a nuclear weapon. That's the one thing we got today.
Do we know
But
that?
we didn't prove it. That's the biggest problem. My big problem with what we did over the past weekend is that I would have been fine, right? Okay, we all know Iran shouldn't have nukes, right? So perfectly fine. But when our intelligence agency says that they're not building nuclear weapons, there's no evidence of it. And our president of the United States looks at our fucking intelligence director, I believe, looks at Tulsi Gabbard, the person he appointed to do these type of things, to present this type of intel, and says that she's wrong, but he's going to listen to a foreign government, Netanyahu, who's probably the real commander-in-chief of this nation, of this country. That's where I have the problem. I have a problem, and it kind of concerns me that there's another government in another country that's controlling the White House right now, making all the fucking decisions. You placed Tulsi Gabbard here to make these decisions. Regardless if I disagreed with it, if I hated it, if our intelligence says that it was there, I'd rather we go through it with that route. But this is exactly the problem. If this would have went through Congress, Congress would have listened to our actual intel, not some foreign intel, our intel. That's the fucking problem. That's my problem with it. I'd rather not have Netanyahu as the true actual commander in chief of our military.
That's the big question
looks
tonight.
pretty good to me.
And with no proof, zero proof of any weapons, nothing. Like we can't just, you just go ahead and you bomb somebody. Fine. Everybody's been saying, well, you got to make sure that Iran, who says death to America and death to Israel, everybody says fucking death to America. And the reason people say death to America is because we fucked over all of these other fucking countries. So they're pissed. They're pissed, of course. Whenever we're talking about war and weapons of mass destructions and mass mayhem, ISIS, where are these weapons coming from? These weapons are coming from America. They have America fucking's name on it. Where are they getting these? So, of course, we destabilize every country we touch. We destabilize Afghanistan. We're looking to probably try to destabilize Iran. Look at fucking Gaza. The United States burns and destroys everything that we touch. So, of course, death to America. I don't agree with it. I don't fucking want it. And it does concern me if they have nuclear weapons, but there's no proof of it.
Well, I'm
They
glad
probably
you're
never
the
had
one
one.
with the
They probably
champagne.
never had one.
Hurt feelings doesn't justify bombing the fuck out of a facility.
At a
I'm
minimum,
not so sure.
At a minimum,
never had
they're a
one.
lot further back today.
That's true.
Than they were a week ago. Than they were a
Sure.
year ago.
But they
and
never had
we have
one.
to rely on some JCPOA agreement where we're going to bet
And
that Iran might do the right thing.
I was a Jayhawk at the University of Kansas when they were playing bombs over Baghdad and celebrating that we were going to war with Iraq. What did we get for that? That's why you have people who were former service members in these wars saying,
Jamil,
we want to say.
real quick, if every time Iran, because they're going to get close again.
Yeah.
Are we just going to have to bomb them every time?
You know, that's a really interesting question. I think that what you might see, if they continue to try and enrich domestically, you may very well see Israel go after those targets. You may very well see the U.S. have to step in. The reality is this is exactly why we have to make it clear to Iran, no domestic enrichment.
And I think the biggest problem that we're going to have with this is now that if you didn't want me to create, you don't want me to have any nuclear, I have the ability to do so, but I haven't done so. You're bombing my facilities to make sure I don't do anything with it. But now bombing my facilities the way you did, now I feel like as if you just gave me some incentive for me to actually start doing it now. Because what you showed me is you can fucking annihilate anything in my facilities and my cities at any given moment. You partnered up with another country that's dead set on annihilating my facilities, my country, my cities. So why wouldn't I now want to go and actually build these nukes that you're saying that we have? So now I believe now you're just giving Iran every incentive to do it now. There's no fucking agreement. The agreement was ripped to shreds. So now, I don't see why they wouldn't.
civilian nuclear program.
We gave
you
them
can get
actual
your, You
motive.
can get uranium from elsewhere. No domestic enrichment. This is the original sin. JCPOA was the original sin by allowing Iran, a terrorist state, to have domestic enrichment capabilities. That was the mistake by the Obama administration. It was the right thing for President Trump to walk away from it.
It depends. This is the first time we've ever actually gone this far. In the past, I think they thought, well, you know, Americans aren't strong enough or bold enough to actually come in here and do something about it. We'll talk. They'll send us pallets of cash, whatever. In this case, we sent Operation Midnight Hammer. It's the first time we've gone that far, so maybe it will prove to be a deterrent for the future.
You can't bomb
we will
you
see.
can't bomb your way to
Everyone,
peace, though. And
thank-
peace is
thank you
not.
very much.
First, give us a sense of exactly
You
where
can't bomb your way to peace. That's real.